Good Cahirirlach, and I'd like to thank the Minister and indeed the officials for being here today. Minister, the first question relates to school transport. I know you've mentioned the 2 pilots and that the review has been concluded, but in terms of the nearest school rule, which has caused major headaches every single year from as long as I can remember, and it causes difficulty in areas where children are told to go to the nearest school, which happens to be in another county, in another parish, and they're already affiliated with a particular one in their area, a different club or a different parish. So it causes huge, I suppose, difficulty every year. It's a predictable one. Was there any consideration given to dropping that completely or omitting the nearest school rule and coming up with some alternative arrangement? That's my first question. My second one is I'm very cognizant of the fact that there is a shortage of school bus drivers, and I've highlighted the fact that school bus drivers have been forced to retire due to a policy Bus Éireann have in place, which is quite ageist really. The bus drivers concerned may be in very good health and may be able to provide medical reports, but they're still forced to retire at 70. Now, I've had a number of bus drivers raise this concern with me in my offices in Offaly. And I'm just wondering, has the department engaged with Bus Éireann trying to revise that rule? Because, very much the step of government now is to give people the choice whether they want to remain in employment after the official retirement age or whether they want to leave. And they should have the choice. And I believe that the fact that we have a shortage, it should be addressed, I feel, very urgently, or we're going to have chaos again this year, and it won't be because of a lack of places. It could well be because of the lack of drivers. So I just ask if it hasn't already happened. I know I've certainly raised it, and I've actually asked for Bus Éireann to be brought in before the Transport Committee because the policy is outdated, and I would hope there'll be something done. The next point I want to raise is in relation to the SET hours. I've had much concern over this from school principals, and they really feel aggrieved and they feel that they weren't consulted with, and many principals are frustrated that the hours that they're now left with is less than what they had originally. They're finding it difficult to manage, and I would feel that the changes should be postponed until there's more engagement with school principals on this issue. I feel there wasn't enough engagement. I feel it was quite rushed and it took many principals by surprise. I've also had principals who were in touch with me who've explained to me that the fact that there's clusters and that they have to make arrangements with other schools in terms of the special education teachers also causes a lot of difficulty, and principals are already overburdened. And I know we all have recognised that, and indeed you were a principal yourself, Minister. I think we need to address this issue. We need to stop loading principals with so much responsibility to put everything in place, and particularly in relation to SET hours. I've been told that principals can't even advise teachers if they'll have a job in September because they haven't their hours gathered or the clusters in place, in terms of their local arrangements. So I'm just wondering, could something be done to postpone that change until there's further engagement? I feel it would be a reasonable approach to take. In terms of the shortage of teachers, and I know this has been an ongoing issue for many years, I had experience of this myself as an acting school principal, where there's just very few subs to be got at any time, and particularly in rural schools. But in terms of recruitment and retention, and specifically that area, what measures are being taken by the department to address that issue? Thanks.
Thanks very much, Deputy. Look, I'll go to the SET one first, because just in terms of the consultation question, I want to be straight up and say to you, there was 18 months of consultation here. The National Association of Principals, Deputy Principals, the Irish Primary Principals Network, management bodies, all of what you would call the partners in education, they were all part of this process. They were absolutely represented. They were part of the process. It was discussed, it was analysed, it was, you know, people were engaged with, and they were represented. You know, their representative bodies were part of this engagement process. And to be fair as well, I can say that from a national point of view, their national representatives issued a very positive statement to public release in relation to this system, because they would have been, it was people on the ground, professionals on the ground, who brought the challenges of the 2017 system to the fore and said it wasn't working. And so out of respect to that, they were engaged with over a long period of 18 months, as I said. So it isn't accurate to say they weren't consulted with, and as I said, they positively welcomed it when it was announced. Just to say, we're very clear, and I've said it earlier, it will never be 100% for everybody in the system. So for that reason, there's a new type of review in place. Heretofore, when the review was in place, it happened mid-school, and I know you would understand this yourself very well, Deputy, and it was almost too late in the system. So we announced the hours, if you like, earlier, so that people, if they felt that they weren't possibly being reflected, that they could enter into the review system. We have said that the review will take place between March and May, so that it will be, you know, fully in place, at the very least by the end of this school year, so that it's in place for the opening of the next school year. 67% of them will retain the exact same, or they will increase. 23% of them will have a reduction, and 70% of that reduction will be less than 5 hours. And 90% of that is due to the fact that their enrolment numbers have actually gone down. We've had a number of reviews. Over 200 reviews have taken place, and more than 30 of those have already been gone through, and that's only in the last fortnight or so. And at least 30 of those reviews have seen an increase in hours, everything from right up to from just 2.5 hours up to something like 27 and a half hours. So the system is working. I really, we're introducing the system so as to do it better, you know, and we're asking people to follow with us on the system. The other system wasn't perfect. We believe that this is a better system. Engage in the review process, and let's see how we go. And it will be kept under review. I give that commitment as well, you know, that if there's people are saying, no, it's still not working right, well, then we will do better. But there is a lot of confidence around this system, putting at its heart the needs of children or young people with the most complex and challenging of needs in the system. The other thing I meant to say to you about the clusters as well was that we gave a very early announcement so the clusters could be put in place, but we also envisaged that there will be less clusters here, less time travelling for teachers going from place to place and so on and so forth, that it would be a positive from that point of view as well. Just in terms of the bus drivers, I absolutely hear what you're saying. This is something, and you have a neighbour there who has raised it consistently. I'd say everybody in this forum, including the chair, and I'm sure Deputy Clerk as well, everybody has raised this. The Bus Éireann tell us they continue to keep it under review, that this is the view of the RSA, but I can say to you that it is the understanding that Minister Ryan's office or portfolio will undertake a review of that and the issue around those who are 70 and over 70, and we will see what will unfold there. But Bus Éireann have said they keep it under review, but they defer to the RSA. Just in terms of the nearest school and all that, and I absolutely understand where you're coming from there. You know, 4.8 or 3.2 at post-primary or nearest or next nearest school. I know myself, like the challenges around that. So just to say that it is envisaged, you know, that school rule in relation to the nearest, that will be dropped. Where there is a route in place and where there are 10 young people that need the service. That would, we have to be clear on that one. Like there would still have to be 10 people to make this service a viable service. Just in terms of, I'm missing one question there. One was the SET hours, the bus drivers, the nearest
recruitment
school.
and retention of
Recruitment
teachers.
and the measures. Yeah, very good. Just to say in relation to the recruitment and retention, and I've raised it earlier as well. This country is at near full employment, so there are challenges in various sectors in terms of having, you know, staff in place when they're needed. I want to say in the first instance, we do have 75,000 staff in place, but there will always be challenges, and they're more acute in some places at some times than they are in others, and I absolutely recognise that. To ameliorate that, we have increased the number of places in our training colleges. We have ensured that there will be a 2,000 benefit or support provided for those who complete their PME. We have dropped restrictions across a whole load of areas, whether it's teachers who are on career break, teachers who are on job share, teachers at post-primary where they can work additional hours should they so wish to work them. We have found new pathways forward for student teachers, and we're very appreciative of the work of the higher education institutes who have accommodated that work, so that we have, 3,000-4,000 young people who make themselves available from a subbing point of view. We've also found pathways and supportive pathways for those who are retired teachers, teachers who are trained in the UK, that they can do their DRIHIT here at home. We have looked at a whole plethora of measures, and we will continue to do more in this space. And I really do want to acknowledge as well, and I've come from a week of teaching union discussions and everything else. Teaching unions themselves have been very proactive and supportive in this space of trying to find new ways, and reference has been made earlier.
Okay, Minister.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry,
You're making it sound so attractive, Minister. I might go have myself when I retire, so.
There you
Yeah.
I tell you now, there you go. And you'd be very welcome.
A very brief one. Very brief, because you're way over time.
Minister, I just went to ask as well in relation to the SET hours.
Yeah.
What was the rationale for dropping the special educational needs criterion, or the complex educational needs criterion?
Just very briefly, Minister.
I'll be really quick on that. Yeah, just to say that we depended on the CHO areas, the HSE CHO areas, to provide that information. So in some areas, we got some of that information. In others, we got less, and in others again, it was less again. So there wasn't a fairness there, because we weren't getting the information that was needed across those CHO areas. So it was determined that there was one place where that information would be available, and that would be within the school for whatever school data that the school had. But we recognised that there would be some children who wouldn't be able to engage in any of those assessments, whatever type of testing that would go on. So those children with complex needs would get the maximum weighting for complex need without doing any form of testing, because such was their additional need. So it was because it was identified to us by many practitioners on the ground that the information wasn't coming forward to in relation to the needs, from the HSE, the CHO areas in relation to complex needs.
Okay, Minister.
We need to find a new system.
Thank you.